So tell me, what has been some of your favorite things about moving to Maui?
Some of my favorite things about moving to Maui. I think the biggest thing is feeling like that we did it.
Yeah.
You know,
right?
that
Yeah.
we live in a place, and I think you and I both lived in tourist areas before over our lifetime. So we know what it's like to live in a place where people come to visit.
Yeah.
So, but there's something different about this. You know, that I look around, I wake up in the morning and I go outside and look at the ocean and I think, we live here. You know?
Yes, we do.
And it's a lot of it, I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot of it is just everyday stuff.
Yeah.
Grocery shopping and getting gas and paying bills and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if you have to do those things, doing
Right.
it in paradise
Right.
is not so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say would be the thing that, like something you kind of wished you would have known before you got here, kind of thing?
Well, I think we've learned when it comes to house hunting, some of the things to look for a little bit. We love our place. We absolutely love our place, but because of where we're situated, there are a lot more bugs than there would be in other places.
Yeah.
So we've had to kind of get a handle on that and sort of adjust our level of comfort with literally living in the tropics, you know,
Yeah.
coming from New England where there's just certain things that we don't have.
Right.
And just getting used to that. But I also don't know if that's something you can prepare yourself for. I think you
Right.
just have to live it.
Yeah.
I think we're really lucky on Maui. We have a lot of access to the stuff we're used to back on the mainland. You know, we have a Target and a Walmart and a Costco. You know, we have grocery stores and, I mean, a lot of just mainstream stuff that, you know, whenever you're moving to Hawaii, everybody says, oh, you know, you're out in the middle of nowhere
Right,
and you're
yeah.
not going to have access to things you want. And yeah, I mean, there are certain things we can't get.
But we actually can get way more, though,
We can
too.
get way more. So, like, especially being vegan.
Vegan, yeah. We can get so much more than we
I
could
mean, the
get.
fact that we went to a roadside stop and got ice cream.
Yeah.
And we could get a ton of flavors. We
Oh,
had
yeah.
a ton of flavors to choose from.
Everything. Every flavor was
yeah.
dairy-free. Yeah.
And, you know, I because we're from New Hampshire, the comparison, the road to Hana is sort of like the Kangamangas Highway. It's the touristed drive. You know, it's the let's stop along the way and look at really pretty sights.
Right.
And so I think about driving the Kangamangas and going, there would be no places we could stop to eat.
No.
Now, granted, we brought our own lunch today because we weren't sure, because I've only been out once, and that was for work here. But we just have more options
Yeah.
in living in Maui to eat. You know,
Yeah.
our access to food in the grocery stores. And having the Costco membership is huge when it comes to...
Yeah, if this is like a kind of tips for moving to Maui, get a Costco membership.
Yeah.
Like big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest thing I think is gas, because there's
yeah.
a gas station at the Costco, and honestly, I guess it depends on where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But like the gas is equivalent to what it costs back in New Hampshire.
Oh yeah.
So it's not
easily.
like, I mean, you have to make an extra effort to drive out, to think like you don't just stop at any
Right.
gas station, because literally everything else is like $1 more a gallon expensive.
Seriously.
But I don't know if there's one specific thing I wish I had known more. But I think anything that's been challenging is more or less hand in hand with moving to a new place anyway.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, you have to learn new stuff. I think the biggest thing, and this is more a comparison between doing Ren fairs and fairs back in New England and then doing things here, is because of the sort of island lifestyle, things just operate differently.
Yes.
So getting used to different time schedules and access, and like, you know, oh, I really want to get this done now, but they're not open, and they're not going to be open, and
Right.
So I think, but a lot of it's just it goes back to sort of the reason why we wanted to move out here, is we wanted a different pace of life.
Yes.
And I think we're starting to get that, you know?
Yeah.
We don't rush around as much. We don't do as many things, but we're also new. So we don't know as many people.
Right.
And we don't do as many activities, but
we also haven't had enough time. I mean, part of getting here is having to, you know, I'm rebuilding my henna business from the ground up.
Yeah.
You know, haven't really been able to make a ton of YouTube videos, but, you know, so that doesn't really have any sort of funding. You know, but trying to build the henna business and then working your job, so we don't have a lot of time off.
no.
So that is huge too. With not having a lot of time off and working a lot, it means that, you know, we end up, you know, today's Labor Day, so that's why we were able to kind of explore and be out.
So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a challenge. I mean, it has been a slower pace of life, but we have taken on so much. In new, well, I shouldn't say we've taken on so much. We've taken a lot of new things.
Yes.
New jobs.
Yep.
New directions. And so, you know, learning the odds and ends of that. And a big thing has been you and I supporting each other just emotionally throughout the whole thing.
Yep.
You know, I think doing this together is a big reason why we were able to do it. You know?
Absolutely.
It's hard for me to think about doing something like this on my own, you know?
Well, let's talk a little bit about, though, because, I mean, I think people, it's great for, you know, for them to know about, like, kind of the struggles that we're, you know, the face and all the good, the positives and the negatives, but also what are the things that if somebody wants to move here, like, what are the things that they should know? Like, I mean, I know if you plan on bringing an animal here, like, that's a big deal. Like, if you're going to bring a dog or a cat here, it is a long process. You need to start it a minimum of 6 months. Minimum of 6 months before you come out. I would really start about a year before you come out. And even that, you know, that's sort of being safe.
Right.
And just be prepared to spend quite a bit of money. Because there are a lot of fees associated with bringing them out, and it
over
just,
time too.
And it takes
fees,
it takes so much time, and it's not just the fees, but like you have to, for example, like you have to overnight the so they have to get a rabies test, and it's not just like to test for them not to have rabies. It's an antibodies test. So basically, what it means is that they have to have their blood drawn by a vet or a vet tech. And then they have to spin it in a centrifuge, and so that they have like a clear plasma that they send to a place in Kansas. That's like the only place that they'll do it. And you have to overnight it there with like ice packs and things like that. And so that costs, so it costs to have your vet do that. Then it costs to have Kansas do the test, but it also costs for that overnight shipping like that. That was like $60 just that.
Right.
So, you know, there's a lot of fees associated with it. So just keep that in mind. They're really, really strict about, and this is for all animals, even service animals, everything, like
cats, dogs.
Yes, they're very, very strict about that. So really, you know, if you guys are interested, I can do a whole video about that. But put that in the comments below. But and then we also had to ship her car.
Yep.
We sold my car, and then we also did a pod.
Yes. So I did a lot of the research for the car, and it can be very scary. It's sort of like WebMD. You go on and it's just nightmare reviews. Nightmare. It's like, you know, oh, they lost my car. Oh, they damaged my car. Oh, it was months I never saw my car. You know, and it can be very scary. Like, it's hard because there are so many people that can do this. So for a quick kind of breakdown, the thing to keep in mind is there are only 3 different carriers that freight to the Hawaiian Islands. And actually, I think technically only 2 now, because I think one of them bought the other one.
Yep.
So, regardless of, and so there's only 3 boats, 3 companies that transport, and then there are brokers. And there are hundreds and hundreds of brokers that will ship your stuff for you. And, you know, they all have different fees.
But they only go through those 3
But they only can go through those people. So nobody can ever guarantee you a time, a spot, because they're running on the other company's schedule. So one of the good pieces of advice that I found was don't go through a broker. Go directly through the shipping company. that is the safest, most direct way.
A little more expensive.
It is a little more expensive, but I would, if you are able, if you can afford it, and I would recommend it, because we went through Pasha. And we went through Pasha specifically because they go direct to Maui. That's another thing to keep in mind. What island are you moving to? Because we were going to Maui, Pasha was the only one that went straight to Maui. The other ones go through Honolulu, and then they have to put on another boat to take to Maui. Right. More time, more money. So Pasha was amazing.
They were.
They were so amazing.
They were awesome.
I highly, highly recommend them. They even actually... They're clear, precise, honest with you. They actually allow you to track your vehicle, which is something that a lot of the places don't do a very good job at. You know, where your car is along the way. And they actually got our car there earlier.
We got it early. We literally had only 2 days of a rental car. Like,
it saved us so much money.
It saved us so much money. It was so awesome. It was so easy to get it.
You can't guarantee it, but the point is, they made the effort. They go, we actually got your car here early. We can get it on earlier boat if you're okay with that. And we said, yes, please, go for it.
Do it.
Exactly. And then because of the things that we would like to, we had to, when it comes to pods, when it comes to shipping containers, we chose Pod. Also highly recommend them. I don't...
Yeah, not everybody has a bad experience.
Not everybody has a bad experience.
A lot of people do post negative experiences with Pod. I think it also depends on where you're going.
Yep.
There wasn't a whole lot of negative ones about Hawaii, so I think the Hawaii Pod is different because it's also who's running it in what part of the country. So I think there are certain parts of the country have a harder time, and unfortunately when you have a bad experience, that your voice is louder than if you have a good experience. And the other thing I have to say, if you're shipping your stuff, it's also about how you pack it. Yeah. You know, we packed it within an inch of its life. Everything was, my mom packed the thing. It was so tight. But,
well,
it was
and we followed the recommendations, like putting the mattress in last. Like, you know, they're experts at this, and they're willing to help you and recommend ways to pack the pod so that your stuff is the most protected it can be in its transport. But they were wonderful too, and
they were on time. We got it when we wanted it. I mean, there was 1 day late, but that's not their fault. No. That's because they were actually here. It's just the port. So in Kailui is our port, and there was too many boats coming in, and so they weren't allowed to dock. So our pod actually stayed on the ocean liner in the port. It was at Maui, but they wouldn't let it like attached to the dock and unload everything. They just made it stay on the ocean overnight.
They're like, our stuff is here, but it's so far away.
It's just floating on the ocean somewhere.
And maybe I'll tell them real quick, the reason why we went with the pod versus just suitcases, because like I have a coworker that moved here with like 10 suitcases over a period of a couple times. Like, you know, just in terms of the cost, the reason why we did the pod is we weighed the pros and the cons of paying the money to bring stuff to Maui versus replacing all of our stuff. Right. And we were in this process looking to downsize, looking to live more simply. But the reality is, and maybe some of you guys watching here feel this way, we have stuff that we were really connected to.
Well, for example, I mean, I'm looking at stuff like, I mean, I've showed you guys at least sort of the outside of my Book of Shadows. Like, I mean, that thing alone weighs about 25 pounds, you know, and I have one of those, plus I have an herbal one, which is about the same size. So that in and of itself, that's a
check bag right there.
That's a check bag in just 2 books. Yeah. So it would have been crazy, and then I wouldn't have necessarily been able to bring that. Yeah. Or I'd have to ship it, and that would have cost a crazy amount just to ship it through the post office. So, you know, there were things like that we
made the decision, and we know it's not an option for everybody. So keep that in mind when we say these things. We know it's not an option for everybody. We were lucky enough that it was something we could do, and you know, it was expensive, but we tried to make it a balance, because we got the tiniest pod that they have. It was 7 by 7 by 8 feet. So and with Megan's packing skills, she's like the Jenga queen, we got in probably 70% more stuff than we imagined. And we kind of equate it to the flat rate box shipping. Like, you've already paid for the pod, get as much stuff in as you can. but we did purge a ton, and
We did. We got rid of so much.
we yard saled a ton, and we donated. I mean, we had truckloads go to. I mean, not truckloads. That's exaggerating, but we had a couple car trips to Savers,
And we also, the other thing that was nice is I was able to bring the majority of my henna business supplies, which was huge because, when I first got here, kind of had to just buy a tent and just some limited things, really sparse, and people just didn't notice.
Nobody
the
stopped.
Tent much.
They walked right past.
I'll put a picture in right now of my tent, the amazing tent.
Yeah.
So, and then, so you can see how amazing that tent is, and I didn't have that, and so people weren't looking.
Yep.
We do Ren fairs, things like that, and so it's like, it's one of those things where people like to see the tent, and once I was able to get that, once the pod came, we had a tent, now everybody stops, and it's awesome. It's more of a destination. So, it's really important for business, too, to be able to have that, and that's something I wouldn't have been able to ship.
Right. So when it comes to thinking about this, and bear in mind, too, what we're sort of laying out here is not an impulse move. I know there are people out there, very free spirits, that can just, they don't have a lot of attachments, so they're able to just, drop what they're doing, pack a suitcase or a knapsack, and start life in a new place. But that's not us.
No.
And so everybody's got to do it their own way.
No.
This is the way we did it. This is what we're looking at long term here. We're not planning on moving within the next few years from the island, so we wanted to make sure that we just did it in a way that made us feel comfortable.
Yep.
The act alone was the adventure for us.
Oh,
and
definitely.
now that we're here, and we've met some amazing people at the swap meets.
Yeah.
I have some amazing coworkers. Like, today is actually our second month. Today, Labor Day.
Today, 2 months.
2 months we've been on the island.
2 months and 3 months, 1 day of being married.
Exactly, which is really awesome.
Yeah.
So it's been a pretty special weekend. Yeah. So I think the three main things: the animal, the pod, and the car.
And then, I'm sure you can hear the ocean in the background. Like, it's worth it. You know what I mean? Like, for everything that you go through, for all of the stuff, it's like, we live literally like five minutes walking from the beach,
which is crazy.
And we're in this amazing place, and it's phenomenal. We are, on a piece of land, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Like, it's just crazy. And it's this wild adventure, and when else are we going to have an adventure? And who knows, maybe we'll end up staying here for the rest of our life, or maybe we'll be on to a next adventure. Maybe we'll move to Australia next, or something like that, or Nova Scotia. Who knows? Well, who knows where we're going to go? But the idea is that, we are making our life extraordinary, and that's our kind of family motto, is make life extraordinary. This idea that extraordinary is what you make it. It's what you want it to be. It's not about what somebody else's view of extraordinary is. It's your view of extraordinary. And as long as you are living an extraordinary life, as long as you are pushing yourself to make your life extraordinary to you, to what you want it to be, that's you can't ask for more in life. Like, that's just... And
don't be afraid. I think something like this, a lot of the things that we've heard is, oh, that sounds amazing, I've always wanted to do that, but and it's the but. And here's the thing, we're not naive enough to think that anybody can just do this.
I could go vegan, but
yeah. The reality is, like Megan said, find the thing that is in your heart, that is in your desire to do. And remember that along the way, that can change. You are allowed to change and evolve as a person. And when you find somebody, for me, I know when you find somebody who wants to go on that adventure with you, that is a blessing. That is an additive thing. But don't wait for you to find, if there's something you want to do, don't wait for the person that's going to support you in that.
Don't wait for, I'll start that when.
When, right.
I'll do that tomorrow, or I'll do that next year, and keep planning for it. Like, do it now.
Yeah.
Just get up and do it. You
Yeah.
know, sometimes you're having a bad day. Like, I was wicked grouchy this morning.
You were?
Like, I was wicked grouchy this morning. She got me up early. And and now I'm feeling way better, you know? A little bit of caffeine, a little bit of food, a little ocean. We're good. We're
Yeah.
good. Got a little motion sickness
It's a little windy.
It's a little windy. It's on the road to
Don't
Hunter.
eat a big breakfast before you drive it.
But it's like, you know, that's life. That's part of life. And just
Yeah.
get up and do it.
Yeah.
And it's...
Because you know what? Each time you make a step towards something that is your best you, is like coming out.
Yep.
Like when I came out, part of me glowed a little bit more, I think. I know it sounds a little cheesy, but it's like, you know, every step makes you a little bit braver. It's like every time you take one foot farther out the door than you did before, you grow and take on the ability to do more.
Yep.
I think, like, we kind of sometimes laugh. We're big fans of, like, watching the House Hunter type shows, and, you know, and House Hunter International in particular. And, you know, for some people, and everybody's got their own journey. I'm not criticizing anybody, but, you know, when we often in these shows, you see somebody who's never left their home ever. And then they go and they make this amazing journey, and then their world opens up into something new. And whatever that is, it doesn't necessarily have to be leaving home, but every time you take a journey towards a bigger part of yourself, the next thing becomes more attainable.
Right.
So we can sit here and say, you know what, if we wanted to move to Australia,
Right.
we could, because we've gotten halfway there now.
Yeah.
Where before, and I'm not saying that's what we're doing, but it becomes more, you grow confidence. You feel like, I can do that now because I've done this.
Right.
You know? It's like finishing a race. Like, I did that, and now I can do anything kind of mentality.
It's true.
So if you have it in you, you know, spend your energy trying to figure out how you can make it happen.
Yeah.
Nothing is impossible when you have a desire, I think.
And thing is, you know, I love, you've seen, I'm a scrapbookaholic, I'm a planner-holic, all this. I love planning, but you can plan all you want, but do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Actually make it happen.